So up studios live.
98.1
Studio
in
silence.
association with
It is time for us to talk business with Rotus. Hi, Rotus. Good morning.
Good morning, Valentine. Lagos, good morning, good morning, good morning.
And good morning to you, Mr. Taiwo.
Yes, Gbolahan Taiwo is with us, the economist at Stanbic IBTC for the for African region, West Africa. West Africa, welcome, sir. Thank you. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
Please
Good
send
morning,
in
Valentine.
good morning to you, Mr. Taiwo. Send all your messages to WhatsApp 0809 4440981. Put your phone on silent while you're at it. That number 0809 4440981. We're on Twitter at Business Express 981, the hashtag, and of course at Smooth 981 FM, and we're streaming live on YouTube.
Thank you, sir. So the market was down yesterday, 0.58%, 26,223 is where the all-share index closed. We're at 12.7 trillion naira market cap. Gbolahan, please, this is right up your alley here. I think we're supposed to have talked about this yesterday, but we ran out of time. The business, they had an investment and capital markets conference. The theme was market recovery, innovation, and regulation in Nigeria. It was held in Abuja. And the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, was there. She disclosed that the federal government this quarter is going to announce a new 20 to 30 year long-term economic development plan for the country. She says that this is critical because the ERGP, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, and Vision 2020 are both expiring next year. So they're calling it Vision 2040, and it's my throat hurts when just saying this thing. But please, I wanted to get your thoughts on this new economic plan that they are wanting to put forward. Let's discuss, please. I mean,
let me start by saying, like a wise man once said, I don't remember who said.
Probably better, don't you?
He who fails to plan plans to fail.
Right, that's correct.
He said that too.
That's correct.
So I mean, to be fair, right? It's okay to plan, right?
Okay.
And it makes sense to plan. I guess the first question is the current ERGP, right? What has it achieved? I think we should start with an evaluation of that first. So the current economic recovery and growth plan had lofty ambitions. I mean, growth was supposed to be not of 4% as at 2019. 2020 growth was supposed to be robust already, but where are we? We're at 2% growth.
Right.
So when you try to evaluate what the economic recovery and growth plan and all of the diversification, metrics that were put into that plan, what has it achieved? Have we really gone through? Have we actually recovered, as it were?
Right.
Because that plan was put in place because Nigeria fell into a recession. The plan was, let us get out of recession and let us start growing. We have gotten out of the recession, but we've barely grown. So the question is, what are the things that have not gone right? A lot of things have not gone right in the economic and recovery growth plan because all of the targets in that plan have definitely not been achieved. In that plan, inflation is supposed to be below 10% right now.
Right.
It's not. Economic growth is supposed to be another 4%. It's not. I mean, a lot of things, the diversification that we should have done for Nigeria to be competitive. I mean, because one of my arguments has always been that it's not that Nigeria is not diversified. I think Nigeria is fully diversified. I mean, it's well diversified. Nigeria is not just competitive, because when you look at the sectors that contribute to growth, you see all of those sectors there, but they're not competitive enough. Most of them is just barely subsistence, and that's because you haven't had a lot of investments going into those sectors. You have not had a lot of investments that would actually drive those sectors, make them subsistence and make them competitive on the global scale. So those are one of the concerns that we have, and I think particularly over the past few years, we have struggled with attracting foreign direct investment. We have struggled in getting even the private sector to reinvest in terms of big capex plans. You look at most of the companies operating in Nigeria, and you realize that a lot of them are not particularly big on any fancy capex plans over the next couple of years, and that's largely because on the one side, the demand side of things is not great, right? I mean, you look at the consumer, for instance, that's got through significant depreciation over the past 3-4 years, and has not seen a significant wage increase over that period as well. So the demands are the consumers are pressured on the one side, and I don't think the fiscal authorities are doing enough to incentivize foreign direct investment in the country, to incentivize private sector in the country. Because ultimately, for me, I look at it as if you're able to get at least that running, it's going to be you killing, how do they say, killing
Two birds
two
with
birds with one
stone, right?
right? Because at the end of the day, when you're able to get those investments in, and people start producing, and people start getting things along, employment will increase, standard of living will increase, all of these things will increase, and then the general economic activity in the country will increase, and then you start seeing the growth you're looking for. Yes, the Vision 2040 plan is a good idea. My question again would be, who are the people actually coming up with this plan? We have the new Economic Advisory Committee. What have they been up to really? Are they the ones championing this new, 2040 plan? Which, if data would make sense, first let's evaluate what has the ERGP achieved. Why did it not achieve what it was set to achieve in the first place? Then what are the things that we need to go do going forward over the next 20 years? Even though I think having a long-term plan at the beginning is quite very lofty, right? For me, let's start with the short-term plan. Let's start, what can we get done in the next 5 years?
Right.
Yeah, before we now start thinking of 20. Yeah, it's good to have short-term, medium, and longer, but let's start with short-term. What can we get done in the next 5 years? What do we need to urgently fix in the next 5 years so that the kind of growth levels we are looking for in the next 20 years will be able to happen?
All right. We have a message from Chenny. He said, I realized the ARGP was rubbish when I studied it early this year, and I saw that the biggest government investments in social investment programs, which was trader money and market money, was not included in the plan, which is sad in his opinion. And Inka says, it's like there's a country inside this country. The initial ARGP, is it like it was designed to affect me? Because I'm not feeling anything. Now, how some Twitter e-warriors tend to defend some federal government policies still baffle me. Okay, the social investment program, Unko, it doesn't affect me. So what exactly is designed to affect my life?
So that's a direct question there from Yinka.
And Benga says, at least we have been told that border closure is a miracle wand that will solve all our problems. Is that the one?
Speaking of thanks, Benga. Speaking of border closure, inflation moved up, right? And you just mentioned that ERGP, one of the goals was to take inflation down to single digits. So it's like you've closed the borders and you've caused inflation to push the inflation up, and it contradicts the plan that you put in place. It's very.
Hence, does it suffice to say that the plan failed?
Yes, that's a very direct. Okay.
Well, maybe not. See,
okay.
So the border closures, right? First, I think the first thing is the border closures is not in the spirit of the African Free Trade Agreement.
Exactly, that's another one again.
That's not in the spirit of the African Free Trade. But I guess at the end of the day, if your concern is security concerns, which we've heard in the media as well, that the illegal importation of arms and all of these things, and illegal importation of people, even Boko Haram, whatnot. Also, it's part of this border closures thing, right? And that's one of the things the government is trying to cover. So, on the basis of security, you can argue that you can close your borders for a bit. Now, my concern is now you're closing the borders, and the customs boss is telling us, we're generating XXX revenue. On a daily basis since then. Now, like you mentioned earlier, inflation is going up. Now, why is inflation going up? If you remember, a year ago, 2 years ago, when we had the farmers and herdsmen crisis,
yes,
and you saw the significant impact on GDP, what you realized that we did not see a significant impact on inflation. Even though prices went up, but it wasn't that significant compared to the level of impact we saw on GDP. Now, what happened there was that it was those food supply coming through the borders that were helping it at the time, and that's why we didn't see price decrease. Now that those are going away, it tells us that the food coming in that are being smuggled in is significant, right? Or however way they're coming in is significant. Now, the concern for inflation going to the rest of the year, you're going into the few months where demand is going to be higher,
right?
Because of the festivities for food supply.
So Christmas period,
Christmas period, and you're looking at a situation again now where supply is going to be limited because of the border closures. Now, what's going to do to your inflation? Now I'm looking at inflation even closer to 12% by the end of the year.
Wow.
Because of these border closures, right? And again, that is concerning. I think I read in the news a couple of days ago that it's going to be reopened January 31st. Now, for me, I'm not particularly against the border closures.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is if we're going to put the right institutions in place, they're going to put the right things in place to ensure that things. I hear that there are consultations going on within Nigeria and Benin Republic and the government, for instance, to say, okay, How can we work through the issue of the tariffs or the taxes or whatnot? I mean, if Benin is clearing a lot more containers than Nigeria, and they're not even as big as Lagos, for instance, then obviously those goods are finding their way. So if the government can, go and negotiate this time. So my point is, if you can close it for the 3-4 months period that you're going to close it, and you're going to ensure that it's not going to be a luta continua after you reopen in January 31st, then I think maybe you would have made progress. Because ultimately, what you want to achieve is domestic production to improve. Domestic production in all of the things that we have competitive advantage over, right? And that's what you want to get to happen. So if we are able to get that to happen, if you're going to be able to put the right policies in place, the right institutions in place, the right people in place to ensure that all of the things that were happening before are not happening anymore, then it's progress.
All right, so this feels a bit, I mean, I don't know if my mind is just being far-fetched to, bring in this thought, but it feels a bit similar to what the US is experiencing with China, sort of I won't call it a trade war, but
yeah.
I mean, it's a trade war in some sense with the African countries, right? Okay, so Benga says, Rotus, you must do a study on the state of Nigerian roads because Fashola claims the roads are not as bad.
Benga, I don't, sure.
Shema says, audio plan 2040, they come up with arbitrary plans but can't be measured. That's how no concrete actionable steps on how to achieve none of them.
And then he hisses.
Isaac said, policy inconsistency, sensationalism, and dishonesty on the part of the government are key reasons we are where we are as a country. The government really needs to face reality and focus on doing things right. Oh boy, Rotus, you have to reply to this later. Isaac says, border is very open to people that can pay, so it won't even stop the arms movements. So go to Samel and see how customs officers are making money. Ayo Samuel, thank you for your message. Customs men are killing Nigerians. Okay, thank you. We'll look at that. Ike says, is the federal government trying to punish Benin Republic for having more efficient port facilities or services? Have you guys been to Apapa lately? Thank you, Ike.
Oh boy. Bola, you touched on this briefly, but why have we not heard one single peep from the Economic Advisory Council? Doing Salami is there, Soludo is there, Bismarck Rwani, not one word on anything.
There was a word.
What word? On what?
What do you want to say?
We all celebrated when they were announced.
Yeah, but they haven't. With everything that's been going on, they haven't said anything.
And they've been inaugurated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what?
Our understanding from what was released was that they're supposed to be having monthly meetings and I think quarterly meetings with the president or something of some sort.
But you have meetings when you started working, yes?
Oh boy.
I mean, do we know that they've had one meeting? I don't know. I don't know if they've had one meeting yet. I mean, the president is not even around. So.
Exactly.
I don't know that they've had one meeting.
All right, let me get. Well, he's making an appointment from London. He's appointed the former deputy CBN governor as special advisor on finance and economy. This one, so I'm a little confused about. This is Dr. Sarah Alade. Yes, she's the former deputy. And apparently she's reporting she's a special advisor to the president on finance and economy. So
she'll be sitting in the finance ministry.
Yeah, but she's in the finance ministry. I'm so confused. I don't understand.
Again, let's remember that.
Yeah.
Konjo-Iweala was coordinating minister of the economy.
Yes.
That's not the minister of finance.
Right.
So I guess now look at it in such a way that you have a minister of finance and you have a coordinating minister of the economy in quotes, but that's not what she's doing. She's special advisor.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I think this is a brilliant woman. I mean, if you look at her track record in the CBN, very, very, very good.
Yeah.
It's positive. I mean, and to be honest, the EAC, the guys on that team, it is positive.
Right.
The concern has always been that, you are getting all of these, technocrats, all of these smart minds. And I always say the problem in Nigeria is not the lack of smart minds.
Right.
His execution has always been the problem, and the willingness, whether it's from a political standpoint or whatever, to be able to execute some of these things. These guys are market-oriented guys.
Yeah.
These people are people that will drive through reforms, the kind of reforms that you would like to see in the country. My question is, are they going to listen to them?
Right.
Which has always been a concern. I mean, our appointment, for me, it's very positive because she has a very good pedigree. She knows she's sound, right? She has the right things. She knows the right things to do. The question again would be, are they going to listen to them? Are you going to take it? Now, this administration has been more statist in its policies and has not been seen to be more market oriented. These guys, the guys on the EAC and Dr. Sarah Alade as well, I think their recommendations to the government are going to be more market-oriented reforms. So, I mean, my own question is, are they going to listen to those market-oriented reforms? If they do, then maybe we can start saying,
Maybe we can
we're on
take
the right path.
Yeah, we could probably take a
Wow.
bit of consolation for the fact that they report directly to the president. Gabriel says the following should be the parameters to measure our growth: 1, disappearance of the hordes of avocados from our roads; 2, resurgence of the groundnut pyramids, cocoa and palm oil exports; 3, resumption of coal exports.
Gabriel, where do all those Okada riders go once they disappear? What work will they do? I used to think
That's a
that
good
way.
question.
I used to say, oh, get rid of them, remove all the
Where are you
Okadas.
moving them to?
Yeah, Gbolahan, where would they go? Gbolahan doesn't want to answer. where would they go?
This one is from Okoro. Okoro says, consultation with Benin, is it aimed at trying to convince them to ignore their comparative advantage? What do we actually expect from the outcome of this consultation?
Okoro, that's a good question.
Oluzil says, don't be surprised if the AAC says a thing or two within the next few days. Isaac says, president is not available. How will the meeting with EAC hold?
Another good question.
And
Jolami
Jolami says, I live in Badagry. Believe me, when I say lots of illegal stuff and trading goes on around every day until now, believe me, closing all our borders, even for more than 2 years, will bring help, transform millions of lives and Nigerian businesses to make Nigeria great again. Sometimes military approach is needed.
That is an incredibly positive take on the border closure from Jolami.
No, but absolutely, and I completely agree. See, at times, I mean, like I said at the beginning, it's not in the spirit of the free trade agreement.
Yes.
But then again, if you are able to, I mean, I think I was reading somewhere that even China closed its border for like 40 years or something.
Yeah, but that
that
one
was for a different thing.
very different,
I know,
and people died when they did that thing.
Yeah, and I know, but I mean, see, at the end of the day, if we're able to get this situation, if we're able to get, ultimately, what you want to get in Nigeria is to get Nigeria producing.
Yes.
To be honest, if we are to start the Africa Free Trade Agreement today, Nigeria is going to become the
dumping ground
because we don't produce anything substantial
it's
enough
already
to be able.
markets.
Yeah.
Okay, Gbolahan Taiwo, economist, Stanbic IBTC. Are we still have time? Or we? Okay, we're out. Gbolahan, we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming.
Thank
And
you.
we will. Everybody, thank you for your messages. We'll see how it goes.
If you missed any part of Business Express 981, go to YouTube, type youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos and subscribe to our channel.
Beyond the headlines.
You guys are confident.